Hi everyone, thanks for joining our webinar, LodgeLink COVID-19 Update. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started here. We're going to be recording today's session so that we can send it out with the presentation for you to refer to later. We've also muted everybody's mics, but if you have any issues, feel free to use the chat and the moderator will be able to assist you. You can also use the Q&A functionality to ask any questions you might have, and then we're going to address them at the end of the webinar. And with that, I'll hand it over to Vinny.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the LodgeLink COVID-19 update. First and foremost, I hope that everyone, including your colleagues, family, and friends, are safe and healthy during this unprecedented time. Our employees are working virtually to help us stay safe while supporting our clients' needs. In fact, I'm coming to you live from New York in my virtual office as we continue to lock down here in the United States. The theme for today's presentation is navigating a shifting landscape. Obviously, we are dealing with this pandemic and it's caused multiple travel-related issues, business closures, and challenges globally. As a result of this environment, our intention today is to share the data and some key insights that we've collected from our customers, suppliers, and industry partners over the past month. As part of our commitment to you, the team wanted to share some of these best practices, trends, buying patterns, and finally, how LodgeLink can support travel or crew accommodation issues that you may be facing at this time. In closing, I wanted to say thank you for spending a brief amount of time with the team today. And of course, we thank you for your business. I'm going to send it over now to Nicole.
Thanks, Vinny. I very much echo your sentiments and hope everyone is staying safe and well. We have prepared a 15 to 20-minute presentation today during which we will be going over trends that we're seeing in the market, both from the perspective of our clients as well as our suppliers. We'll be discussing how LodgeLink is responding to COVID-19, how we're supporting our customers during this time, and we'll leave about 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. So to start things off, we'll begin with a few introductions. My name is Nicole Geddes, and I am one of the business development managers here at LodgeLink and your go-to contact for all things crew travel related. Presenting with me today, I have Carla Jones.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm the customer success manager for your LodgeLink account.
And together we'll be co-hosting this webinar. So to kick things off, we'll start with trends that we're seeing in the market, and we're going to focus on two different categories when we're discussing this. The first being the accommodations landscape, updates that we've received from our suppliers from a macro standpoint, as well as how our suppliers are responding to COVID-19. Then we're going to move into essential services. Many of our customers fall in industries that are deemed essential services. We'll discuss how our customers are working through this process, how they've been affected, and how LodgeLink is supporting them during this time. I'm going to hand things over to our Senior Manager of Revenue and Supply, Chris Vitour, to give an update on the accommodations landscape. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Nicole. Well, let's start with hotels. As you all know, with the emergence of COVID-19, there are related travel bans and physical distancing measures. And because of this, we've seen tremendous amounts of hotel closures. The latest estimates are roughly 60% of properties across North America. And occupancy rates have plummeted, sitting around 20% in the US and 15% in Canada. However, many markets are below 10%. Now that said, hotels are still operating, and they're mainly accommodating first responders, overflow for healthcare workers, and customers that are working in essential service sectors that we'll cover shortly. These properties are also seeing an increased demand for rooms with kitchenette suites, which allow guests to practice physical distancing and cook their own meals. Beyond that, the hotels are taking increased sanitary measures such as sanitizing stations, more frequent cleaning of common areas, and some properties are even pre-screening their staff. They're also taking physical distancing measures such as spreading guests out in terms of room allocation, closing common areas like lounges, breakfast rooms, fitness facilities, and pools, and providing bagged meals for takeaway. Finally, as you've likely seen if you've had to change any of your personal travel plans lately, most travel suppliers from airlines to hotels are relaxing their cancellation policies, and we're working with them to communicate their policy changes for our customers. So for those of you in need of hotel accommodations, there are safe options available, and we can help you source them during this ever-changing environment. So when we look at lodges or camps, it's an interesting time in Canada as the outbreak of COVID-19 is coinciding with spring breakup, and many lodges are shut down due to road bans and decreased activity in their areas anyway. However, for the lodges that remain open, they are mimicking many of the increased sanitary and physical distancing measures that the hotels have implemented. Again, if you need help navigating which lodge or camp facilities are still open, our team will be happy to help secure availability for you and make your team aware of the safety measures that have been put in place for the facilities. If you have any questions regarding the state of hotels or lodges in your area, please submit a question through the chat. It will be received anonymously and we'll get to it during the Q&A session. And with that, I'm going to ask Scott Vigneault, our Manager of Market Growth, to review what work is still happening and to look at the essential services situation in Canada and the US.
Thanks, Chris, and good afternoon, everyone. Really happy to be on the call and be able to share some of the insights that we've been noticing over the past month. As Chris mentioned, I manage market growth here at LodgeLink, and I'm going to spend the next few minutes touching on three key topics. The first, what are we seeing in terms of our customers' work that is still continuing? Second, how are essential services being defined between both Canada and the United States? Because there are some nuances there. We'll unpack a little bit of that for you. And then lastly, I'll give you some examples of what's happening in terms of our customer segment and our existing customers. How are they responding to this environment? And give you a few examples of how we've been able to help them. So, of course, with the onset of coronavirus coinciding in partnership with the price of oil being down more than 50% since the beginning of the year, many customers in the industrial segments that we tend to support have either halted operations or significantly reduced their operations over the past 4 to 6 weeks. We're seeing many projects be delayed in our bidding process, projects being pushed out later to the end of the year and even into next year. With that said, there is work continuing, especially for those services and industries that are deemed essential. So essential services are being defined very similarly between Canada and the United States. In essence, any service that is preserving life, health, and maintaining basic societal functions is continuing. These include functions performed by first responders, your healthcare workers, and in our case, for our clients, for the most case, it's critical infrastructure workers, and really related a lot to the utility sectors. So those that are maintaining functionality within the hydro sector, natural gas, telecom, electrical networks, those critical sources of energy that we need to continue our day-to-day functions, we're seeing all of those regular maintenance and service work continue. On top of that, any workers that need to provide essential goods like food and medicine, of course, that work is continuing, as you know. On top of that, there are businesses that are deemed critical to the supply chain of these essential services, and they are also deemed essential. So this leaves a pretty broad network of operations and clients that are continuing to work, and many of them, as Chris mentioned, are a part of the LodgeLink customer base. So in terms of our customers, what we're seeing in terms of work that continues across several industries, the first being the energy sector. Of course, right now is a perfect storm between coronavirus, the depleted energy price, and spring breakup. We're seeing well sites and drilling activity really decline, but we are seeing matting companies stay busy, as well as service and maintenance work on critical pieces of infrastructure like pipelines and compressor stations continue. The telecom industry is another industry where we're seeing work continue in terms of service and maintenance, as well as several new infrastructure projects that are continuing as planned. And then lastly, I'll just highlight the construction industry. We're seeing projects move ahead on critical pieces of infrastructure for any of those essential service categories that I mentioned. Projects like Site C are continuing. The major pipeline work on the West Coast is continuing. The mining industry is continuing in many places, as well as construction on critical pieces of infrastructure like hospitals and road work. So there is work that's continuing, and we've touched base with a lot of our customers to gather this information, but if we haven't heard from you, we'd really like to. So leave us a comment or give us a call, send us an email. We'd really like to know how the work on your end is being affected. Now, to take a quick look at essential services, if we take a look at Canada, these are the 10 categories that the federal government's national strategy for critical infrastructure has defined. These are purely advisory in nature. It's up to each provincial, municipal, territorial, and indigenous jurisdiction to regulate and assign their own essential services. And it's really a changing landscape. We saw even yesterday, Quebec issued that residential construction would reopen as an essential service. So be sure that you're checking in with your provincial and municipal authorities to get the most up-to-date information. But for the most part, we're seeing the provinces and territories stay pretty consistent with this list of 10. And now if we take a look at the US, they're a bit more narrowly defined in terms of their essential services. They have 16 categories. Just as an example, they have both energy, nuclear, and a dam category, whereas in Canada, those would all be captured under the energy category. Again, this list is purely advisory from the federal government. It's up to the state, local, tribal, and territorial governments to issue their own response plans. And so, again, just echoing that it's really important to stay up to date with the local municipalities, states, and provinces to know what's happening, because it's changing on almost a daily basis. And just lastly, I'll touch on what our customers are doing in response to the current environment. So we see a variety of situations. Unfortunately, some clients have had to stop work altogether, but many of our clients are deemed essential services and essential service providers. So those that are continuing on project sites have had to implement increased controls in terms of physical distancing, so maintaining at least 2 meters apart from each other. And that's tricky to do on some project sites. So some have had to reduce the amount of workforce on site. Prime example of that is LNG Canada, significantly reducing their workforce to just keep the essential workers on site. On top of that, similarly to some of the lodging providers, they're implementing screening protocols just to help mitigate any potential spread on the project site. And lastly, not new to a lot of our clients, but increased PPE measures like face masks, gloves. Most of our customers are used to dealing with fairly stringent PPE measures, so not news to many of them. And the last point I want to touch on is just accommodations and how our clients are handling the current environment. So we're partnering with many of our customers that continue to work to give them up-to-the-minute information on hotel closures, lodge closures, and ensuring that we're placing them in facilities that have implemented more rigorous sanitary and health and safety measures that Chris alluded to earlier. And then lastly, we've found some creative solutions with some of our clients in terms of reopening vacant facilities. And Nicole and Carla are going to touch on that in a bit more detail here in a minute. So those are just some of the trends that we're seeing in terms of customers and essential services. I hope that was helpful. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Carla to touch on what we're doing internally at LodgeLink to continue in this environment.
Hi everyone, great, thank you Scott. So our team at LodgeLink here is doing a host of things to provide continued services for our customers. First and foremost, we're trying to take care of ourselves and practicing physical distancing by all working from home. Our team is functioning at 100%, which is allowing us to provide all of our core services and features, and we're operating 24/7. We are also staying up to date by remaining in constant contact with suppliers, customers, travel associates, and government to paint a complete picture of the ever-changing environment so that we can pass that knowledge on to our customers. Lastly, we're finding creative solutions for our customers wherever we can, and Nicole will review a few of those solutions in a minute here when she goes over the continued services in a bit more detail. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Nicole.
Thanks again, Carla. Here's a glimpse of the LodgeLink team. Hopefully you recognize a few of the faces you see here. As Carla mentioned, we are all working remotely and all of our business divisions are functioning at 100%. This includes our account management, our customer success, our billing and administration, all the way down to our product development team. Everybody is functioning at 100% and we are here to support you during this time. Our technologies are allowing us to maintain our service standards and provide you with the same services and features you've come to appreciate and get used to on the platform. This includes extending our customer service line to 24/7. We have our live chat available on the platform, online reporting, consolidated invoicing, and negotiated rates. In addition to this, our product development team is busy working on enhancements to the platform, and we hope to share with you some updates on that very soon. We are, as Chris and Scott mentioned, keeping up to date with our suppliers in key regions where we are offering coverage, and we're currently working on expanding coverage in Canada and the US. So in Canada specifically, we continue expanding into the BC and Ontario markets, and in the United States, we are currently expanding in a number of states at present. Lastly, I want to mention that we continue our integration into the Sabre GDS system. This allows real-time availability and pricing for our hotels that are available on LodgeLink.com. Right now, we're up to 90% connectivity to the GDS system. And it's worth mentioning that if you are online and you don't see a property that you would like to book through LodgeLink, please get in touch with our team, and we're happy to work with Chris Vitour to get that loaded onto the platform. Lastly, I'm going to, I apologize. As Carla mentioned that there are a few creative solutions that we've been working on with customers, I want to highlight a few of those for you right now. First, with so many properties closing down as a result of vacancy and COVID-19, for customers with large volume crew, we have been able to work with our suppliers to move them into hotel properties. Obviously, this provides a bit more control and safety in an environment where they're not going to be working with other crews. We recognize that for smaller crews, this might not be an option, but if you do have a larger crew volume and this is something that you're interested, please get in touch with our team. It's worth mentioning that on average, the properties will consider reopening if at least 30% of their beds are occupied. So if you have a question in terms of volume, please again reach out to our team. Secondly, something that we're doing both internally at LodgeLink and our parent company Black Diamond, in addition to all of our crews that utilize Aero Travel for flights, we are pre-purchasing deeply discounted flight passes for destinations that our team and our crews are frequently traveling to. This is a very proactive and cost-saving initiative, as there's very minimal risk associated with pre-purchasing these flights. If you don't utilize the passes within a year period, they are available for a refund or for a credit in lieu. So again, no risk associated with this. And of course, as we've mentioned, we are continuing to add coverage in key markets and at the request of our customers. We are noticing a lot of our customers bidding on future projects, and if you find yourself in this scenario, please utilize our team. We're happy to provide quotes for estimation to ensure that your bids are competitive. And in addition, if you find that you're bidding on work in a geo region where LodgeLink doesn't presently have properties, again, please get in touch with us. We are always eager to add new properties to our platform. And finally, in terms of duty of care, we have had to relocate a number of crews as a result of COVID-19. Proactively keeping in touch with our key suppliers, we can very quickly move your crew if you find yourself in a scenario of this nature. So in summary, what have we learned today? Accommodations are updating their processes and procedures and heightening their sanitation requirements, all with safety in mind. They've also adopted more flexible cancellation policies. The Canadian and US government have provided guidelines on essential services. These are services deemed to be critical to preserving life, health, and basic societal functioning and can vary by jurisdiction. Our clients have to work during time, especially since many of those do fall under the essential service designation. Companies are deploying screening procedures, physical distancing measures, and reducing their workforce amidst the crisis. And of course, LodgeLink is always here to help you. We continue to operate remotely and partner with clients to secure safe alternative facilities. We're committed to staying up to date on the ever-changing accommodations landscape and can help you navigate this to find a solution for your crew. Back over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. It's Carla here again. I just wanted to emphasize that we are here to help with any travel needs during COVID, pandemic, and beyond. So with respect to everyone's time, we're going to move into the Q&A shortly. I just wanted to make sure that everyone had the contact info for our customer support team. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so please do call us anytime. We are also going to display our direct contact info at the end of the Q&A. So with that, we're going to jump into the Q&A session.
Great, thanks everybody. So we have a few questions that we actually received in advance from our clients who reached out to us directly. We do see a couple also in the chat, so if you haven't already, please feel free to enter your question in there, and we'll start with these ones that we received in advance. So the first one is, are hotels and lodges updating pricing to reflect the current market?
Yeah, I can take that one. Thanks. That's a great question. So in some markets, of course, with the lowered occupancies and the feel for the demand shrinking, more hotels are fighting with other hotels to get the lower pricing, to get the accommodations. So they are in fact lowering their pricing. We've done a couple of analyses in some markets, and it's been as low as 20 to 25% in a drop. That's not to say that every market is doing that. In some of those secondary and tertiary markets where they really are the only inventory, they still are practicing good revenue management skills, and their rates have maintained. Having said that, at the end, when there's large functions or large groups for us to put into hotels and lodges, we're able to negotiate some really good pricing right now.
Great, thanks so much, Chris. So the next question is, how do I know what facilities are available to book?
Thanks, Steph. It's Carla here. I can take that one. So when in doubt, call us. We have our 1-800 number. Like I said, we're available 24/7. If you look online and you see that it says fully booked or not available, but you were kind of hoping to stay at that particular property, please call us, because if we can't get you in there, maybe we can call the hotel, and as they alluded to before, if we can get that 30% into that property, maybe there's a chance we can get it open for you. So please call us when in doubt. We are here 24/7.
Great, thanks. What happens to a booking if I have to cancel?
If you have to cancel, as Chris had mentioned earlier in there, we are seeing more relaxed cancellation policies. So we want to know everything about your project. So if you have a delay, or you're planning on coming a little bit later, or maybe you have to add a few more people, or maybe it got canceled altogether, all of that can be communicated to our customer service team, and we will work with those properties to try to avoid those cancellation fees for you.
Great, thank you. And if a property is closed, how do I know when it's going to reopen?
I can take that one too. So with our supply team, working with Chris Vautour, we can connect with those properties. We have relationships with all of the major brands for hotels, and we have 90% coverage on all of the major lodges in Canada and the US. So we definitely can use those relationships to find out the most up-to-date and current information for a specific property, giving you the most accurate information as far as what the reopen date will be. So again, let us know, and we can work with those relationships to help you out.
Great, thanks Carla. Just moving on to the questions that have just been asked in the Q&A. With some hotels closing in small centers, what effect will this have on crews requiring large vehicle parking?
So I can take this one. So the one good thing about LodgeLink is we discern each of our hotels that have the large truck parking. So if you are looking on LodgeLink and you find that the hotels that are open don't have that alluded to in their profile, call us, reach out to Nicole or Carla, and we'll source another property that does have it. So far, we haven't had that issue. Most of the properties that have these upgraded amenities are the ones that are still open and operating.
Great, thanks Chris. The next question is, are you hearing anything from your current clients about the state of the oil and gas market and when the activity may pick back up again?
I can speak to that one. So we actually took an initiative last week where we were contacting all of our active customers who have booked within the last 90 days to ask their input on what they're seeing, what projects are going forward, what's happening in the future, so that we can kind of get a general forecast of what to look out for the next 30, 60, 90 days. And we're actually hearing a lot of positive feedback about the month of June. So June is where everyone is planning bids for. A lot of bids are going out. We're quoting a lot of projects. We're seeing a big increase in activity. that does coincide too with breakup. So when the ground firms up and roads become more accessible, lots of more construction is happening. So in contacting our clients and having that one-on-one over the last week, we did find out that June is the month to look out for, and there are definitely a lot of projects still going ahead.
Great, thank you, Carla. And the next question is, what will happen if my team's camp closes due to lack of bookings?
I can take this one. That's a great question because it's actually happened. So we've noticed a couple camps that were due to close for spring breakup, and because of lack of bookings, they decided to close a little bit earlier. Essentially what we do is we take that message and we go out and find other accommodations, whether that's neighboring camps or if it's local markets near there for hotels. And in the situation that we just had, we were able to source them in a really good hotel not far away.
Great, thank you, Chris. So that's it for the questions that we've received right now, unless anybody else wants to pop another one into the Q&A.
I believe there was one on the chat. Nope, it came into the QA. I apologize. So that is it.
Great.
All right, everyone. If there's no more questions, and obviously to keep us on time, we're going to wrap up here. You will receive a follow-up email shortly with this webinar recording. If you'd like to share it with a colleague or a member on your team, we encourage you to do so. In addition, we'd appreciate any feedback on future topics, so please complete the survey included in the follow-up email that you'll be receiving. Once again, on behalf of the entire team of LodgeLink, we want to thank you for your continued support, and we wish you, your teams, and your families good health during this very difficult time. My contact information is listed below. Please don't hesitate to call myself, email me, same with Carla as well. We work alongside each other in managing our clients. And if you have any questions or a crew travel scenario, we're here to help you. And thanks again for your time today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.